Go. We're going to call the meeting to order for the Board of County Commission's May 25th meeting. This meeting is being viewed in person at the Board of County Commissioners Chambers on SGTV, on YouTube, and by registering to participate in the Zoom webinar. Residents can provide public comment in person or by registering to speak on the Seminole County website and the Board of County Commissioners webpage. If you are unable to join via computer or online, interested parties should call 407-665-0808 for additional information on how to participate via telephone. Please adhere to the CDC COVID-19 guidelines and silence all cell phones and electronic devices, as I am doing right now. So we're going to call the meeting to order, and it is our pleasure to have today Father John Blewett of St. Stephen's Catholic Church to give the invocation. Father Blewett.
God, our Heavenly Father, I call to mind and thank you for the presence of this new day, and pray that with gratitude for this opportunity to serve you once again. You've called each one of us by name. You've called us to be your people. You have entrusted to these good commissioners especially so much, especially caring for the build-up and the care of this community. In responding faithfully to that call, we will hopefully one day be able to look you in the eye and say, I have left this world a better place than I found it. And so, Lord, keep us always in your care, and may we always know that we are loved, that we are forgiven, and that we are special to you. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Father, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I can have a moment for everyone. Father, don't leave, please. Father, don't leave, please. If I can have a moment. As a young boy, this gentleman terrorized me. So I have the opportunity today, being that I'm the chair, to give it back a little bit. With great respect. Father John Blewett has been an institution in this community, both at the Pathways for Care, St. Stephen's Church, and many, many, many other activities, some of which individuals will never know how much he's been. He's very special to my friend, Commissioner Bob Delory, who attends that Mass and is a server there. Very important to Commissioner Zimbauer, who Father Blewett was presided at his wife's funeral. And I think that Andrea, I don't know exactly your relationship to him, but I'm sure he has affected you and Commissioner Lockhart in some nefarious way.
As the lone Protestant up here, I will say I love Father Blewett.
But for me, I was a ninth grader at Bishop Moore and had to take Latin. It was required. And Father John Blewett, soon off the boat from Ireland, which I could not understand his Irish accent, tried to teach me Latin. And so that was one of his penance that he had to put up with throughout his life, and he says that he failed with me. But you can't win them all. But I very much appreciate his friendship and his guidance and our relationship over the years. And he is soon to be retired, but he will never, ever be forgotten, or his deeds will never go unnoticed in this community. Thank you very much, Father Blewett. Commissioner Delory, I want to give you a personal privilege, if you will.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that Father John, going to St. Stephen's, he's told many people he just wants to retire, doesn't want any real accolades or events and I can understand and appreciate that, sir. But you've touched so many people throughout the years in so many different churches in so many different ways, and you will truly be missed but not forgotten. And I know that there'll be forgiveness for not being able to teach Commissioner Constantine Latin. But all kidding aside, I know that your hand has been on so many different people throughout the years of you being with the church and continuing to be with the church. And look forward to seeing the things that you're going to accomplish in years to come.
Anyone else wish to? Just, Father, know how much we truly care about you and appreciate what you have done for our community. Thank you, Father. Thank you very much.
I'd just like to add that that seat right there is open to you always. As I understand, you can keep Lee in line, because he just admitted that, so we always have an open seat for you, Father. And all of us may need it.
I will always, with Lee around, I will always keep you in my prayers.
God love you.
Thank you, Father.
Wonderful, wonderful. I want to say this.
Can you come to the podium, sir, so we can all hear you?
I've been in 58 years in Central Florida, and I have dealt with a lot of people in politics, as you can imagine. This is probably the most honest, caring, straightforward group of people I've ever dealt with. And I'm not just saying that in spite of Lee. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, it's an honor to continue, and hopefully we'll continue to be able to work together with with other project that we're hoping to maybe develop. But the key word is integrity. And I talked to Dr. Todd Husty about a year ago. He called me and he said, I'm being clobbered with all this stuff about the virus. What the heck, what am I supposed to do? And out of somewhere, I pulled the phrase, you do the right thing always, and you can sleep at night. And he told the bishop about that. I mean, I thought I was inspired, but seriously, and I think that's true of all of us. If you do the right thing and you're honest, you can sleep at night. Even though people are complaining and they're not happy with you, in here, Mr. Zambo, you know that. We've been through some rough times with that too, with your wife, which was very sad. But I think all of you, it's a pleasure to be part of this community, and I hope that I'll see you a lot soon. And I promise that I'll come back and pray as often as I need to pray for all of you here. Because even though I'm retired, I'll have more time. God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you, Father. With that, since we're winding down over at the Oviedo, if I could have Mr. Harris come up and just give us a brief on how we're winding down with the vaccines and everything that's going on. Any new information, I'd appreciate it very much.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, Alan Harris, Chief Administrator for the Office of Emergency Management. All of our first responders in the audience know that demobilization planning began at mobilization. So we've been planning for demobilization. It's taken quite a long time to get here. So we're very proud of the initiatives that we have done with the vaccination rollout. Just like community-based testing, it was government-centric. We were the they were the primary source of testing initially, just because there was nowhere to get testing. You really couldn't find a place to get testing. If you wanted to be tested, you had to be sick to find a test. The same thing was true, and we knew it would be true for vaccines. Initially, on December 28th, we were the first vaccine site to offer vaccines to the public of any county in the state of Florida. I'm very proud of that. We worked over Christmas holiday to make that happen. And I'm talking about the Florida Department of Health, the Office of Emergency Management, and numerous other agencies supporting us. We had always planned for the demobilization process, and we have instituted our demobilization plan effective actually starting last week. So this Saturday will be our last date for appointments, first dose appointments at Oviedo Mall and the Sanford Library. Those are our two fixed sites. This week will also be our last mobile delivery, and when I'm saying this, I mean we were doing 5 days or 6 days of mobile delivery out into the community. For the next 3 weeks, we will complete the second dose appointment. So those people that have had their first dose over the last 3 weeks, they can still come into the Oviedo Mall and get their second dose. They can still come back to the library and get their second dose. And we will still be going back to the mobile delivery sites that we were at previously, which were multiple high schools because of the 12 to 15 age bracket, as well as some private businesses that we were in over the last couple weeks, and then some just public outreach type of events in low fixed income communities. So we'll be doing that over the next 3 weeks. On June the 19th, that will be our date of closing at the Oviedo Mall, a date of closing at the library, and we will continue to do special events. I call them like flu clinics. You're very familiar with this. So we do this all the time anyways. We do this before school, vaccination programs and events. We will still continue to do that. COVID vaccine will just be part of that. We've become the safety net instead of the priority, instead of the primary source of getting the vaccine, which is what we wanted all along. We wanted private industry to beef up and to be able to handle it, and we can absolutely see by the numbers that they are doing an incredible job. All the local pharmacies, the nonprofit medical clinics, and even the primary doctor's offices out in the community. So for the next 3 weeks, if someone would like to come to the Oviedo Mall or the library, we will absolutely accept walk-ins. So if someone walks in and says, I changed my mind, I've been on the fence, whatever, I'd like to go ahead and get my shot now, we will absolutely provide them their first shot. We are partnering with True Health, which is our nonprofit medical provider here in Seminole County, as well as the health department, and we will arrange for them to get their second dose at the appropriate time, which will be after June 19th, after our closings. So I just wanted to give you an update on the vaccines. We will become the safety net instead of the primary source for vaccines, which is really our goal all along. So we're really happy of what we were able to provide, hundreds of thousands of vaccines to Seminole County residents, as well as counties all over the state of Florida that came up here to get vaccines. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Zimbello?
Alan, I just, I know we've done, but I just want to thank you and your team on behalf of the community. It's been a long, hard ride, and you guys were on the front line, rolling it out, doing it every day, and making the calls and following up. I still remember the resident that needed the refrigerator and was locked up in his home with COVID, and our staff actually assisted in getting that refrigerator delivered, set up for that individual. And I just don't know that there are other municipalities doing that type of personal assistance. And as you know, my office, and I'm sure others, received comments from people that were in quarantine that were just thrilled to talk to somebody on the phone, which were our staff reaching out to them on a daily basis to make sure they were okay, make sure if they needed their medicines or anything else. I think it just speaks volumes to your leadership and your group. So on behalf of the citizens of this county, thank you very much.
They're all in that back row. I don't know why they're in the back row, but
Would you all please stand and be recognized, please? Every one of you. Thank you. Great job, Alan, to you and your team. Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here today. We really love to put the face with the name, and so it's wonderful to have you all here. Thank you very much.
I just want to add, Chairman,
Yes.
Alan is working with our community relations group to get information out relative to the demobilization, and we'll also send something to all of your commission offices so they'll have the information on the dates and how we're taking things down.
Thank you very much. Everybody got that? Yes, Commissioner Herr.
I'd just like to take a minute to recognize every department in the operation, because every department was running shorthanded in order to facilitate handing team members over to facilitate things like delivering refrigerators, answering phone calls, getting messaging out through Tricia's department. This was a team effort. This was no different than fighting a battle on the field when you didn't know what was coming over the hill next, and every single department lent to that effort. And Alan, to his credit, gets the credit every time he stands up here, and always with humility addresses the fact that it was a team sport, and I do appreciate that, but I want the entire operation and the public to know that this was bigger than just the EOC. Every department was touched.
Well said. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Please.
And I'm not going to repeat what Commissioner Zimbow or Commissioner Herr said, but I will tell you that the amount of accolades that we've gotten are because of all the things that you've done. And I mean, the accolades that we get are not just in the form of an email or a phone call, but it's when we're out in public, going to an event, or going on a Zoom call. It's the products of what you've been doing over the past 12, 13 months. Makes our job a lot easier, and people are always telling us, was that really the governor that did that? That was a common thing that I've heard many, many times. Like, I wish other things would have happened like that. I'm like, well, we're trying. And I can tell you so many times I've heard from many people that they wanted us, and we've tried to do this. Thank you all. And it's hard to do that time and time again to make sure that everyone got a thank you. So we're going to keep on saying thank you. And great job.
Just a quick anecdote. Commissioner Herr, Commissioner Delory, and I were at the 50th anniversary of the Oviedo Rotary Club on Friday, and I was walking, I think, to get another meatball or something. And
Shocker.
In his grass skirt.
No. And some a young lady walked up to me and just said, "You're a commissioner?" And I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "I just want to thank you. I would never believe that you know how efficient and how well run your vaccine program was, and how nice the people were, and how friendly they were to others that needed more help." And I just, as I think Commissioner Zimbauer said, they couldn't believe that, or Commissioner Delory, they couldn't believe that it was government that did that. So it was very nice. And
Mr. Chairman, there's one more thing. I want to thank your families, because as you were on the front lines doing all the things that you were doing for other people, it was your families that were home literally fending for themselves. So thank you. Please thank your families.
Okay, let's move on to the proclamations, awards, and presentations. And the first one we have today is from Commissioner Herr, who will be reading a Memorial Day proclamation. Commissioner Herr.
It is absolutely my honor to move the following proclamation of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners, affirming May 31st, 2021 as Memorial Day in Seminole County, Florida. Whereas on Memorial Day, we pay solemn tribute to those brave Americans who served under the Stars and Stripes and laid down their lives to defend our freedom. And whereas for more than a century, this holiday was known as Decoration Day and originally honored those lost while fighting in the Civil War. And whereas, following America's entry into World War I, Memorial Day evolved to commemorate American military personnel who died in all wars, including World War II, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And whereas, in 1915, after spotting a cluster of poppies, a brigade surgeon was inspired to write the poem In Flanders Field, giving a voice to soldiers who had died in battle and lay buried beneath poppy-covered grounds. The poem initiated a movement to make the poppy a symbol of tribute to all who have died in war and remains an emblem of remembrance to this day. And whereas Congress, in a joint resolution approved May 11, 1950, provided that Memorial Day shall be set aside as a day of prayer for permanent peace and requested President Truman to issue a proclamation calling upon the people of the United States to observe each Memorial Day in that manner. And whereas more than 1.1 million American soldiers have died in conflicts, and more than 8,000 of these soldiers were from Florida, and whereas today 1.3 million Americans serve in active military duty, 67,429 of whom are from Florida, while another 1 million Americans serve in the reserves and National Guard. And whereas on Memorial Day and every day, the citizens of Seminole County must remember the servicemen and women who sacrificed their lives to ensure our own. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners does hereby recognize May 31st, 2021 as Memorial Day. And be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners request that at 3 p.m. on Memorial Day, Seminole County residents voluntarily observe in their own way a moment of remembrance and respect, pausing from wherever they are and whatever they are doing to honor our military heroes and their valor. Adopted this 25th day, May 2021.
Second.
Motion and seconded, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? There is no specific person that should be receiving this, obviously, but if we can indulge the audience, any veterans here, would you please come up to the front and we will present this and have some pictures taken. Thank you. We're going to need some people in the front, and we'll get in the back. How's that?
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. The next proclamation will be presented by Commissioner Zimbauer, recognizing Chief Petty Officer Philip Walters, United States Navy, and May's Seminole County Veteran of the Month.
Thank you,
Commissioner Zimbauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my honor to enter this proclamation of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners recognizing the United States Navy Chief Petty Officer Philip Walters for his outstanding service to the United States and Seminole County. Whereas the brave men and women of our Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Space Force demonstrate a resolute spirit and unmatched selflessness, reminding us there are few things more American than giving ourselves to make a difference in the lives of others. Whereas throughout our country's history, generation of service members have answered the call to leave their families, their jobs, and put their futures and even their lives on the line to valiantly defend our nation and its inalienable rights. Whereas for many service members, the sacrifice has ended in permanent injury or death, yet their spirit remains in the continued preservation of our freedoms for the promise of liberty. And whereas there are more than 30,000 living veterans in Seminole County who served our nation in times of peace and war. By their service, they kept America strong. Whereas Chief Petty Officer Philip Walters entered the United States Navy in December 1947 and retired in October of 1970, serving 23 years. And whereas Chief Petty Officer Philip Walters served as a communications technician working with the Naval Intelligence, the National Security Agency, and the Central Intelligence Agency. Whereas Chief Petty Officer Philip Walters served during the Korean War, the Lebanon Crisis, the Bay of Pigs, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the Vietnam War. His awards include the National Defense Medal, the Navy Expeditionary Medal, and 5 Good Conduct Medals. And whereas Chief Petty Officer Philip Walters moved to Seminole County, where he was a Seminole County Sheriff's Deputy for several years and then worked with AAA. Currently is a proud member of several military clubs in the Sanford and Longwood areas. And whereas Chief Petty Officer Philip Walters has brought great credit and distinction upon himself, the United States Navy, his country, and Seminole County. Now therefore be proclaimed that we, the Board of County Commissioners of Seminole County, express our gratitude, admiration, and respect for Chief Petty Officer Philip Walters for his outstanding service in the United States Navy and the residents of Seminole County. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be presented to Chief Petty Officer Philip Walters, along with our sincere congratulations and recognition as Seminole County's Veteran of the Month, adopted this 25th day of May, 2021.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Chief Petty Officer Walters. With family, would you like to take a picture with some of the family? Yeah. Come on up, everybody. People from the DA. Come on up. Yeah, that's it.
Chairman, if we can get a couple of people on this side to balance it out, we can look a little better.
Balance it out. We got you. That's it?
Yeah.
Nicole?
One more, hang on.
Okay, hold on.
Appreciate everything that everybody's done.
Now we have 2 resolutions or proclamations, both sad and happy, because they're retiring. We're sad, they're happy. Commissioner Delory will present the retirement resolution for Susan Hughes. Commissioner Delory.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my honor to present this to Susan Hughes, as well as the community and the board here. Resolution of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners recognizing Susan L. Hughes, Emergency Communications Training Coordinator, Seminole County Fire Department, after 31 years of service to Seminole County government and its citizens. whereas Susan L. Hughes began her career on July 15, 1990, as a communications specialist for the Emergency Communications Center with the Department of Public Safety and was promoted to assistant supervisor on February 1st, 2000, and transitioned to the position of Emergency Communications Training Coordinator. And whereas Susan L. Hughes has been a valuable leader and mentor during her tenure with the Seminole County Emergency Communications Center, and whereas Susan L. Hughes will retire effective May 31st, 2021, after 31 years of employment within Seminole County government, and whereas the Board of Seminole County Commissioners wishes to express their appreciation to Susan L. Hughes on behalf of the staff and the citizens of Seminole County for her dedication service. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of County Commissioners acknowledge with appreciation the services provided to Seminole County by Susan L. Hughes and commend her for her dedication and commitment to the job. Be it further resolved that this retirement resolution be presented to Susan L. Hughes, along with our sincere congratulations and best wishes to future prosperity, adopted this 25th day of May, 2021.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Susan?
This is not only a sad, but as the Commissioner said, a happy day. And I'd first like to thank some of my mentors in the fire department. The Chief Johnsmeyer has been a big mentor for me. Beth Dan, she's married now. Suzanne, Chief Drodes, you've also taught me some things with you coming on, and Chief Harkins. I'd also like to thank the commission and also the citizens of Seminole County for making my job as rewarding as it was. And all I have to say is thank you for Seminole County being a great county to work for. Thank you.
Thank you,
Susan, if I may, just stay right there for a moment. You know, the proclamation and saying thank you doesn't really go far enough, because when people, no matter what's happening in their lives, dial 911, it's that dispatch center, the communication center that picks up that phone and gets them help, not just on the law enforcement side, but from the fire and the paramedic side. And the stress that you all go through, I can't imagine. To take someone that is just seeing the worst of the worst and talk to you, and you trying to calm them down, I thank you all. And to be there so many years and seeing all that, the stress that you go through, we can't say thank you enough. So thank you.
Thank you.
And the last resolution of the day, but certainly not least, is a resolution recognizing Tish Callahan Smith upon her retirement. Commissioner Lockhart.
Yeah. So, Commissioners, it is truly an honor for me to be able to move the following proclamation. Seminole County Board of County Commissioners recognizing Tish Callahan Smith, Office of Emergency Management, for 17 years of public service to Seminole County government and its citizens. Whereas Tish Callahan Smith has served Seminole County government and its citizens with professionalism and dedication, demonstrating a commitment to public service in various positions of leadership requiring high levels of expertise. And whereas Tish Callahan Smith began her career with the Board of County Commissioners as a staff assistant for the Administrative Services Department Risk Management Division. She was later promoted to Administrative Assistant for the Central Services Department, Information Technology, overseeing numerous technology projects and financial accounting. Later promoted to Administrative Assistant for Environmental Services Department. And whereas in her current position, Tish Callahan Smith has served in the role of Emergency Management Officer, Office of Emergency Management, overseeing millions of dollars of emergency 911, emergency management, homeland security, and hazards materials grants. And whereas during her career, Tish Callahan Smith has served the residents and guests of Seminole County, overseeing the county Citizens Information Hotline for 12 Emergency Operations Center activations and 7 federally declared disasters. And whereas Tish Callahan Smith will retire effective June 5th, 2021, after 17 years of employment with Seminole County. And whereas the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners, its staff, customers, and citizens will be forever grateful to Tish Callahan Smith for her integrity, creativity, tireless energy, enthusiasm, and invaluable contributions to the county. Now therefore be it resolved that the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners and its citizens wish to express their deep appreciation and highest commendation to Tish Callahan Smith for consistently modeling the qualities herein. Be it further resolved that this retirement resolution be presented to Tish Callahan Smith, along with sincere congratulations and best wishes for future prosperity. Adopted this 25th day of May, 2021.
Second.
Motion and seconded, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Tish,
Tish, Tish.
where are you? You were hiding back there, Tish. I couldn't even see you. Come on, everyone. We'll get in the back. You will all kind of squeeze in here. Allie, you can get back here with me. I'll get way back here.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I know, right? Would somebody get a board so she can be seen from there?
I'm used to it. It's all good. I just want to say thank you so much, Chairman and Board, for this honor. I really appreciate it. I can't tell you how much these 17 years have meant to me. I have just been, as you all know, I'm the hurricane girl. I started in a hurricane, and I'm going to end where it all happens. Everybody's been so good to me. I've had so many memories of all my family and friends here, and this is a family. In fact, the other night I was talking to a friend of mine who works in another department. He was saying, y'all's office is just like a family. We don't have that where I work, and I'm like, and it's so true. We are a family. I love every minute I've been here, and I just am so grateful for all these years and frankly, memories. And I want to thank my family for unplugging the refrigerator from the generator after Irma when we had no power for a week, and plugging into the little portable air conditioner in my office, in my room, my bedroom, so I could sleep during the day because we worked all night. and to plug the coffee pot in for me so I can stay awake long enough to go to bed. So I have so much to be grateful for. I have a wonderful family, both at home and here at work, and it's more to me than just, nobody here is just a coworker. So again, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, a point of personal privilege, if I
Please.
may. So I came to work here at Seminole County about the same time Tish did, and we both had the opportunity to be in the Employee Academy together. And I assure you that there is a lot in that little package. She is absolutely by far one of the most genuinely kind, sweet, compassionate human beings I think I have ever known. And she has a fabulous sense of humor. And it was just always such a pleasure to be able to work on any sort of project with Tish. And so I know you will be greatly, greatly missed.
We've already got her ripped in to come back during hurricanes. She's going to
Well, folks, those were some wonderful resolutions, proclamations today, and we're now going to go into the consent agenda items. So pursuant to Florida law, the public has the right to be heard on all propositions except when the Board of County Commissioners is acting on ministerial or emergency matters or conducting a meeting exempt from Section 286.011 Florida statutes. The public will be provided the opportunity to be heard on non-agenda matters at the end of the meeting. Proper decorum will be observed. County Manager, do you have anything of changes on the consent agenda?
Yes, sir. Staff is pulling item number 9. We'll bring that back to you at a later date. That's a release of a maintenance bond.
Thank you very much. I'm going to give a second or two to let people leave. I do believe that there might be at least one, maybe others that wish to speak. So I'm now going to call on the general public to speak on items 5 through 23 with the exception of 9. I have one in my possession. Is there any others out there? Seeing none, Mr. Hyde on item number 16.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Bill Hyde. I live at 2379 Audley Street, Oviedo. I'm the admin for lakehaze.org. It's a new organization. It started just a few weeks ago, just to be advocates for Oak Manor and Kew Gardens, not to get 6 minutes or to drive any other agendas. I know that this is a budget item, and it's already been heard for other reasons before, so I don't need to rehash why this is not a good idea and poorly designed. The road being long, straight, you're going to cut halfway down one side, halfway down the other side. If it's for safety, then why would you put a crosswalk right in the middle of Lake Hayes Road, which eventually is probably going to have one of those blinking yellow lights that you're starting to see all over the place. And my neighbor, whose home was built in 1985, same year as ours was, is going to lose all its landscaping when it would be so simple just to put the sidewalk on the other side of the street, which is already county property. Not to mention, of course, it's going to urbanize our community. Now, what I'm really here to talk about is the budget. The way I read this in the backup material, the original prior year expenditures were $65,000 and the budgeted for $113,000. That's about $170,000. Sounds like a reasonable number for a sidewalk. But when we had our Zoom meeting, we were told at the Zoom meeting that the construction cost would be $233,000, which is substantially more. But when I got this agenda item, it appears that the $233,000 is not even, nothing close, because it says right here in black and white that the total projected budget cost is $347,000. So something that started out as somewhere under $200,000 is now $347,000. Folks, we're supposed to trust you as the keeper of our taxes, and here you go, almost doubling a cost of a sidewalk that in just last year showed it was only going to be $170,000. we've got to develop a trust in you, again, to spend our money wisely and to plan better. Apparently in this project, it just hasn't happened. I sure would like to hear how this got away financially. This is penny sales tax dollars, which Commissioner Delory will remember well. A couple of years ago, when we had workshop meetings, I got furious because the penny sales tax money wasn't being handled well. And you know what? This looks like another case of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hyde. Are there any questions?
Mr.
of Ms.
Chairman,
Wright? Yes.
could we have someone on staff address those?
Commissioner Zimbauer, if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is I'll pull it,
what I was gonna
and then
suggest, Mr. Chairman.
then we'll do it right after we finish the rest. Is
Fair
that okay
enough.
with you? Okay.
Perfect.
Good, yeah. Any other folks in the audience that wish to speak on this? Seeing none, we are now up to the commission. Does any commissioner want to pull anything?
I'd like to pull item 22.
Item 22. Commissioner Herr, item 22, yes. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask for 22, but I'd like to make a comment on item 10 at the appropriate time. I support item 10, but I just want to make a comment.
I understand. Okay, so 22, and I was going to make a comment on item 10 also. So why don't we just do the comments, Commissioner Delory?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 10 is for the fire department regarding transit bus transit agreement with the Central Florida Regional Transportation Authority, LINKS, and it's to give them a bus for them to train on. What I'd like to see in the future, Mr. Chairman, I fully support this, but I think because it's a training element, I think there needs to be a standing order for buses, so they just have to come to us. And I think the standing order needs to be either to work with the school board to get one of their old buses, or with LINKS to get one of their old buses, instead of, having to come to us, create, and I do believe in transparency, but this is for a training aspect where I think once we approve one item, it should be ongoing. And I'd like to see that moving forward, Mr. Chairman.
I come from it from a different angle, Commissioner. I just said, remember at the workshop when I mentioned to everybody about how there were buses available at Lynx? And I talked to Mr. Harrison, the director of Lynx, just recently, and that's what the chief did. He asked for a bus, and they are putting out surplus all the time. They have some of those turtleback buses right now that they're going to put out at this meeting on Thursday. They're going to surplus. And I said, I'm going to make an announcement to let everybody know that before they go on surplus, if anybody wants one, to ask. And that's their process of asking. And if they ask, and they're part of any government that is part of the Central Florida Regional Transportation, they will give them that bus if they have it available.
I just think we need a standing order.
That we don't have to approve it.
But standing order that when the bus is available as needed, they get what they need.
Yeah, well, and that's when they just need to know who wants one, and they're willing to do that. Lynx is more, I don't know about the school board having that, but the Lynx is more than willing to give any bus to any organization of Orange, Seminole, Osceola County if they ask for it. Commissioner?
Well, I know the school board regularly gives buses for the training center to utilize, and I don't know that those come to us, but was this agreement put on our agenda at the request of Lynx or at our organization's request?
It appears to have been prepared by Lynx. There may be, we can look into it. There may be an issue. FTA may require it because there was federal funding associated with it. So it may be required in order to transfer an asset. They may have to do an MOU, but we'll double check on that.
I just wanted to make sure. I don't know that this was necessary, because I know the training center gets a lot of fabulous automobiles to hack apart and do cool stuff with. And so I'm assuming it's not. I'm looking at Chief Droz to kind of get something, whether this is us or if it's someone else. But
we'll double check for you, but my guess is that this is something that's required by Lynx, and it may very well be associated with the federal funding that they receive.
Maybe.
And I'm going to recognize Commissioner Zimbauer, but like Commissioner Herr, one of those turtle top buses were for the transportation disadvantaged. They may be wonderful for the rescue mission or something if they ask for it. But they are just thinking about it. Commissioner Zimbauer.
Thank you very much. Yes, I do believe that this public hearing item must be a public hearing item because the transfer between the governmental entities is a requirement. Number two, I agree with what's been said here, but I also see value in this being on a public agenda so the public understands what we're doing and our fire chief and firefighters are actually doing in a training. Our public doesn't understand how good of a training center we have in our fire division, and they don't always get the opportunity to know what's taking place. This is just another way of helping the public understand that, our chief, this commission, is supporting cutting edge for, our frontline responders and doing the best and the most we can to provide the most service for our citizens. So I agree with what's been said, but I'd like to see these kind of things, notwithstanding the legality requirements, stay on the agendas.
Okay. Blowing this one up, aren't we, Chief? This bus. With that, the motion, would be to approve item 5 through 23 with the exception of 16 and 22 and 9 being deleted.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and seconded. Is there a discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. We are now on item number 16. Commissioner Zimbauer and I believe others would like someone from the staff, county manager, to answer the questions of Mr. Hyde. And maybe other questions.
Good morning. For the record, John Shell, Public Works Director, County Engineer. The construction cost for the sidewalk, it is $233,000. That is a bid from the contractor. We spent about $65,000 for our design. That project originally, we were planning to do it in-house, but we did it and we were at that time as staff busy. I did other project in-house, and I did that as by consulting. We do have, if you see in the request, some for both designs. Those funds, what we do, we requested to put it in case during the construction there is some deviation or unforeseen. Doesn't mean we use that fund, and also some contingency. But the construction cost is, if you see it at in the report, is $233,000. And the cost of the construction, a lot more these days than previous years.
Go ahead, Commissioner Zimbauer.
And the crosswalk, was that originally a design element of this consideration?
The crosswalk always is a crosswalk, will not be flashlight, will be a sign showing the people to stop for crossing, because we try to avoid the drainage. There is a large ditches in some area, whether on the north side or whether on the south side. We try to avoid those, and that's why we show, and if you see that memo I sent you with the plan, it is a part of the design to cross from one area to another.
But we're not going to have flashing lights?
No, it will be a sign showing it is crosswalk, so it is slow or stop for.
And is it going to be lit signs or just standard signs?
Just the plan is a standard sign.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
John, can you talk about the increase in cost? Because I think the original budget was 113. That was for 2021. And now we're a little more than double.
Well, originally, we had about 178,000. And we were planning to do it, the design in-house. We spent some money for the consulting. But the construction costs, these days, the construction cost went up tremendously. And sometimes we put a bid. If it's small bid, we put it out to bid. We don't get not even one bid. We have to rebid it by consolidate some project it is with other project. And we have continued contract, like 3 contractors Sometimes we give them those bid. One of them bid, and some of them, none of them bid because construction costs and also is short on manpower, some of the contractor, or some of them are not interested with a small project. It is not, and that's what you see, the costs in some area went up a lot.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I may continue. John, can you also talk about how, right now, you're splitting the project on the south side, you're crossing over mid-block to the north side. Why wouldn't we just do it all on the north side and just use the existing crossing?
Okay, because you have a big ditch. If you look at the plan I sent you, they have a big ditch in that area. We'll not be able to fit it. If we do that, we have to go to the private property and get an easement on private property to make it continuous. So that's what the purpose of it. We cross it one time. It is more infill. If you see that a plan we sent you in the memo, there is a sidewalk in multiple area. What we did, we tried to infill, connect those sidewalk and crossing that area. We thought is the consultants that is the best, most efficient way for the sidewalk and to minimize the impact of any properties. We're not taking any property from anybody.
Commissioner Lockhart?
So what I heard from Mr. Hyde was that there are some private residences whose landscaping are being impacted. Is that in the right of way?
All those they are within the right of way.
Okay.
Within the right of way, we're not encroaching on any private properties.
Okay.
And to my understanding, no trees or anything impacted. And if there is something, a small shrub in that the right of way, we can sit and with that individual resident and go over it. But we sent 45 letter to all the residents on the street, and we had a virtual meeting, and we had about 4 or 5 residential resident. They had a question about the impact of the property, and those were resolved, and the staff talked to them about it.
Okay. Since you were mentioning that it's sometimes hard to get people to bid on some of these smaller projects, would there be any rationale for holding this project until you have a few more to put out to bid together to do an economy of scale sort of thing, or are we pushing this through?
Well, that is a small project, and the contractor now, what we have, that contractors, we were able to have one of the contractors we have on board to bid on it, and that is what we call it, the $500,000 contract, continue contract and less. And I don't think for those, what we do, we have a unit price not to exceed, and that's what that contract it is. Whether we do it because the approximately where's the location, and I don't know.
I'm just wondering, sometimes it's better if particularly if construction costs are high right now, maybe do you wait until you're on the better end of that scale?
But we have a small contract. That contract is specialized for that type of project. It's $500,000 and less.
Yeah, I understand that it's the right contract for the dollar limit. I'm suggesting that maybe if you waited, the cost would come down in some fashion, or if you bundled it with other projects, maybe it would go up. I'm not in your business, that's why I'm asking.
As a construction, it is every day is going more, not less. Now, whether it is in the future will go less, I don't know, I can't tell you, but what I see today, every time we ask or we put bid out, it we see in higher prices, whether material, whether labor, and stuff like that.
And the contract that we're using was bid out, and it's based on the unit price that was approved by the board, so it has been bid out in that sense.
I'm so sorry. I feel like
I'm
always
sorry,
have
too. I
something
know.
between us here.
I need a flag.
I'm going to keep
I need a
asking
flag
the
to
county
wave.
manager to
Yeah.
raise her hand,
I
and
need
I
a
will
booster
get her.
seat.
Commissioner Zimbauer.
I can speak to the construction cost to a certain extent. I can tell you on concrete, I've had a concrete bid standing for about 4 months now, that I've been now told by the contractor there's been 2 increases, and now I'm 30% over where the original bid was at. We're in a very unique, unfortunate scenario where there are jobs actually being canceled, and there are products that aren't deliverable now across this country. HVAC is a big one that's impacted. Piping's another one that's a big one that's impacted. The only ones that are able to perform are some of these contractors that had surplus materials. They were able to get a job done. So I don't know where the light at the end of the tunnel is with the cost. A 2x4 has gone up, I think, to $8 from $2.42. It's not an easy decision whether do you wait? Does it go up, continue to go up? Does it drop? I don't know the answer to that, but, this board has sat and insisted that these 1-cent sales tax projects get out and get done, programmed, get them finished. So I hear the concern, I understand that, but we can't control the market pressures that come to bear, nor can we predict what the market's going to be 1 year, 2 year, 3 years from now.
Commissioner.
You mentioned projects that were programmed, so I just wanted to see how many more of these sidewalk projects are just being rolled out, and how many of them left are a part of the program?
I believe the one on the list for the penny tax, I believe between this year or next year, they should all been, it is in design or in construction. Now, we have a lot more project we're doing. It is not on the penny tax. We have a certain criteria, whether next to the school and other stuff like that. But if you go specifically for the one on the penny tax, they should be, whether this year or next year budget should be already addressed. Now, some of the area where, and I give you example, like the Rolling Hill, and I sent memo to everybody because, and we put it, those were on the penny tax, but we're not doing it. We said we will revisit when the park it is done. Also, English State, we took those out. Those type, but the remaining, which is on the penny, should not be much, should be already. If you want it specifically, I'll be glad to send to the list.
Yeah.
But we should, by next year, all those, anything on the penny tax sidewalk should be somehow addressed.
And so just for clarification, I was asking sidewalk projects done individually versus sidewalk projects that are programmed. So when you get a chance, if you can categorize them like that for me, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd be glad to.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I want to dovetail what I think I'm hearing from the board, and it's just my interpretation, so don't misconstrue. I'm not trying to insinuate anything. We all know that the cost of construction is going up substantially. So the first question I have is, this sidewalk on this road, and I know it's on the 1-cent sales tax, and the only way for you not to do it is for us to take it off the 1-cent sales tax list. Is there a true need for this sidewalk? But before you answer that question, I have a question. And the reason I'm asking that is because with the cost of construction going up, there's other needs for sidewalks, i.e. around schools, that maybe we should be taking off the projects that are not truly at a need because of the bigger need, because of the cost of construction, for sidewalks that should be around schools, getting the early children to the schools to get those back in line because of the cost of construction going up. Has anyone looked at that from that perspective?
Yeah, yes, we do the way, okay, first, we will look at the one on the penny tax. We want to make sure to visit it. And some of them we visited and the community didn't want it and we went back but as our criteria, as the most important criteria, we look at is for our program, close to school, make sure the within 1 mile, within 2 mile, it is, those is criteria. One of the criteria we look at it. As for that sidewalks particularly, if you want to delete it, that's fine. But what we look at it is infill. You already have a sidewalk. We fill in the cap. We fill in the cap and on the list. Now, we want to delete it. It is up to the board. But the staff feel that, and I know I heard more than one time, and here when we bring the project development, that we mentioned that, hey, we have a sidewalk go nowhere. And that is, really, it is close the gap.
Mr. Chairman, the reason I'm bringing this up is, yes, I do believe it's important for us to close the gaps on missing sidewalks, but I'd like to get a little more information to make sure that any sidewalks around schools, wherever they are in the county, can be properly funded. So if there's any objections, I'd like to continue this item until we can get that information back to us.
It is going to be, I can't give you
I'm not asking today.
I can't give you every sidewalk around the school.
And John, I realize that, but I think there needs to be making sure that we have the appropriate amount of funding for, I guess, the primary issue that we have is always safety. And I know this street, there are safety issues, but I think the first safety is getting the kids to and from schools. And so I just want to make sure that we're doing that correctly and we're properly funding those projects because the cost of construction is going up.
Well, it is our program, if you recall, we did the 2040, it's a master plan, and that go assuming that the penny tax will be renewed and go on and on.
I wouldn't assume that, sir.
But I understand that.
That's what the plan assumes.
But that is a plan. And our criteria, you asked it, when we did the master plan also, we have Jacobs try to prioritize a project. And those projects for sidewalk taking consideration is the closest to the school and all as we add them. Do we have a inventory, up-to-date inventory for the entire county with the school for me to give you now? No. Can we come up with it? Absolutely.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What is a time frame to come up with it that Commissioner Delory is asking for? And I'm not asking you the date and the time, I'm just saying approximately.
Hopefully, I can talk to the staff. Hopefully 6 months, I can come up with some preliminary. Where is what the school? Because we have to look at the school and what we have missing. I'm going to assume is 1 mile. One area will do, and the other area do 2 miles within the school. Last one is that time consuming, but we'll try to see what we can do. But to start, I would say minimum 6 months to inventory it.
Okay, Commissioner Zimbauer.
It's in Commissioner Delory's district. I mean, I'll support whatever Commissioner Delory desires to do, but I just got to say one thing. I'm tired of talking about sidewalks. We have given this staff so many mixed messages since I've arrived here. We've banged on the table, we've told them to get the projects out. So they gear them up to get them out. Then we've banged on the table and said, well, they don't want sidewalks now. Now, this one wants sidewalks, and that one doesn't want sidewalks. If we're going to expect our staff to perform, then it sounds like to me we're going to have a special work session on sidewalks and sidewalks only to come up with a sidewalk policy, which we already have, which we've already discussed, but we continue to pull things out, plug things back in, and move things around like a big shell game And again, I'll support whatever Commissioner Laurie wants to do, but it sounds like there's still a lot of unanswered questions as it comes to sidewalks. I would suggest to my friends on the commission that we adopt a sidewalk policy once and for all, be done with it, give it to the staff, let them get it done, and live with that policy. We continue to discuss this over and over and over, and all we're doing is consuming staff time.
And now,
It makes no sense from a business model to me.
Yeah, Commissioner Zimbauer, I would agree with you up to a point that, like everything else, one size doesn't fit all, and sometimes there are some questions that come up. Now, I've attended 5 or 6 Zoom meetings recently on sidewalks, okay? Of all of them, this one, you said you had 4 people that were listening or were there, but there seems to still be some questions. And it's not just a question, I mean, this was a question that happened more than once. I know that Mr. Hyde has been sending out different things. If we go forward with this, is there someone that those that still have some concerns about the design and everything can go to, whether it be you or someone in your office, that they can still discuss the possibility of changes?
Absolutely, and keep in mind also, when we send the 45 letter, we have encouraged resident to get engaged, and we said in that memo, if you don't respond, we consider that you are in support. So, and one way to say to get to import. But yes, we can do
All
that.
right. Thank you. Commissioner Lockhart.
Well, I think the last couple of times we've had discussions about sidewalks, and I agree I'm getting a little tired of the sidewalk discussion as well, I thought we gave staff the direction to come up with a way to run all of these sidewalk projects through a process. Didn't we? I thought we did that.
We did. We do have a public notice process depending on the degree of the size of the project, and we are doing
Yeah.
that.
Public
doing
notice.
that.
I don't think we were talking just about public notice, though. I think we were talking about how we were going to, how staff was going to analyze and prioritize, because you referenced the study that was done by that consulting firm whose name is escaping me right now, that had the bajillion sidewalk projects that were all analyzed, and they had different rankings and ratings and weights. And so are we still utilizing that, is staff still utilizing that study for the projects that are being put out now? Or did those projects get programmed? I think that's why I'm kind of asking this programming question, because I'm wondering if these that we're seeing now are the ones that you were doing in-house, trying to respond to the beating, get projects out thing. Is this the remnants of that, or are these some that have been programmed and gone through this new analysis?
Okay, both. Now, first, we're going on the list to make sure it is on the list we visited. We're looking at it on the list for the referendum. And we brought you several of them before. Also, there are additional sidewalk we did a lot, whether it is came from the request of the community, or we believe it is because of the school, close to the school, or close to certain development. And we do have a way. That is a criteria, develop, staff work with Jacob, develop the criteria, how do we prioritize those projects based on those criteria. So you have a mix of both. We have some of them on the referendum, some of them it is somebody, a resident, call and say, okay, I'd like to have a sidewalk in there. We go and also look into it. If it does not materialize, we don't go forward. And some of them, we look at the school, okay? Is this school, how close is this school? Is there a sidewalk? Is that a safety issue? And all those come together. That's how we come up with those lists, and we go through the prioritization.
So can we get a copy of that newly updated prioritized list?
Sure, yes. And
I think that might be a helpful start.
we do it. I believe we provided it to all those projects to you in some fashion, but we'll be able to, I'll be glad to do it. But you have those, some fashion when we did those prioritization for the 2040 and so on, but we'll be glad to give you.
Because it sounds like it's moving and changing as you learn new things and things
Right.
come on and things come up. So maybe just the most updated version would be helpful.
Because we do have the 2040, but we get a project added to it, was created by certain study, was created by certain development. That fluid, we add as we go to it, and we review it and prioritize it. Evaluate it.
Yes, County Manager.
And I just want to clarify for the public's benefit, there are two different sets of sidewalk projects that are paid for out of the sales tax. There are specifically enumerated projects on the list. English Estates was one of them. This is one of them that are specifically identified on the sales tax referendum list. Then there's a separate pot of money for pedestrian safety projects, et cetera. That's where this analysis of are they in the Atkins analysis for sidewalks? Has it been requested by a neighborhood? Is there an issue at a school? That's where the prioritization that was developed in concert with Jacobs comes in, and those are unnamed projects that are funded through the sales tax, and many of them are included in the 2040 transportation plan that the board has approved. So I just, but I think John's right. It is fluid, and we'll be happy to get you the latest and greatest on how they've been prioritized.
Commissioner Zimbauer.
County Manager just touched on one of the issues that I wanted to raise, which is this board has approved the 2040 transportation plan, which these projects were all delineated, outlined, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, we understand those can be changed, moved, deleted on needs, et cetera, et cetera. But I would like to know from my fellow commissioners in this regard to sidewalks, what is our desire for sidewalks? Do we want a walkable community? Do we not want a walkable community? And if we do or we don't, what is the criteria for filling in those areas that don't have sidewalks? Is it going to be this particular set of residents don't want sidewalks, but the two on either side do, so you're going to build the sidewalks to that point, leave the gap? I mean, sooner or later, some hard decisions have to be made. And I think it's a policy decision of this board to decide, do we want a walkable community in certain areas? Do you not want a walkable community? Or do you want to listen to 5 or 6 residents come in and scream they don't want sidewalks, and now we're not going to do it, but each one on each side now have sidewalks? So, I mean, I know there's hard decisions. I know there are parameters that staff and Jacobs are utilizing, but I think at the end of the day, we have to decide to give that clear direction. Are sidewalks optional, and we just want to take a poll from each residential area, whether they want a portion of the sidewalk or not, or whether we're going to take a policy decision, we're going to fill in the gaps. Do we want it walkable? Do we not care about it being walkable? The transportation, Commissioner Delary, Commissioner Constantine both sit on MPO as well as myself. There's a huge push for walkable communities and connected streets and so forth. And the longer we wait, the more difficult this may become in certain areas where we have to procure small slivers of property and so forth. So I'm just saying, we keep hearing this over and over again, and I think this board needs to take up what is our position going to be on sidewalks, so we can give that clear direction to our staff and say, we want a walkable community, or maybe you want a walkable community only in some areas. Whatever that might be, I think that decision's ultimately going to have to be made, because we continue to go over and over the sidewalk issue.
Commissioner,
For what it's worth.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I do believe we need a walkable community. Second, I do believe that if there's a missing gap, that we should fulfill or fill in that missing gap. The issue I have here is that the proximity to an elementary school, these kids are being bused, I would imagine, from this location, because it's all the way down to Chapman Road is the closest elementary school. Just want to make sure that we are, because of the increase in construction costs, that we're filling in the gaps and providing sidewalks around the elementary schools first, because those are the people who are going to be walking to the schools on a day-to-day basis. I'm not saying that this neighborhood doesn't need a sidewalk. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that with increased cost of construction, increased cost of this budget, I want to make sure that we're prioritizing the need for sidewalks around the elementary schools first, to make sure that we have enough funding to put the sidewalks in where it's very much needed first. That's my issue.
Commissioner Herr.
Just a series of questions.
And then I'll...
Given that concern, is there a question as to the availability of funding? This does not, and while I do appreciate, Mr. Hyde, your comments about the differential in the budget, I also appreciate the fact that we are in that period of time that is probably going to last for a while, where costs are going up on all sorts of things, including construction. And man, we didn't even talk about the notion of pay scales going up, and that's probably not contemplated in this yet. Is there a fear in the budget that we're not going to be able to put sidewalks around the elementary schools, and therefore we should delay this one project in order to facilitate that?
So I was asking the question.
No, if you look at the penny tax, first, okay, in our land development code, any development, we require it to put sidewalk on both sides of the street. And also we require them to put a sidewalk along the street, existing street, along the property line, from property line to property line. What we have, and also if you look at your penny tax, they are broken into divisions, as major street, minor street, and so on. And what we try to do, okay, we try as we can, as close as we can, to budget for that proportional, but sometimes we save money on certain section, whether it is through grant or some other way. So, and we think we need more priority on some other, we can go ahead and kind of increase that. But we follow that ratio, and we don't have any issue with the funding, because I'm talking about between now and 2024, when the penny tax program that is free. Beyond that is depend what funding. If we have the penny tax, then we will continue this program. If we don't, we have to come up with a different type of funding. But we try to manage, kind of balance it, what we think is more crucial area, whether in stormwater, whether in sidewalk, whether turn lane, and all these safety projects.
So my perspective is that I would support continuing it. I would not support continuing it for 6 months. It's just going to come back and cost more. So if the notion is that we continue it to facilitate conversation between the local residents and our team that may not have already happened to get to a design that's acceptable, that's all good. And I also support the notion that it seems to me that we have a plan. We just occasionally don't like the plan and don't want to stick to the plan. And I do think that, I agree with you, I don't think you use this terminology, but we continue to twist the tails of staff around the idea that this little piece doesn't match what the notion should be. So we either need to revisit the plan and give it leeway to accommodate this, or we need to revisit the plan and get us to stick to a plan, which I'm not sure if, I'm just young enough in this role to think that that can happen. That's a possibility. I'll own that.
Commissioner Lockhart, then Commissioner Zimbauer's on deck, and Commissioner Delory's in the hole.
Are you having fun yet?
Yeah, I want to say
We're on
something.
the
I'm going to let
consent
you guys
agenda, by
say
the way.
something. Go ahead.
Well, I think
Consent
as far as the notion of do we want a walkable community or not, I don't think it's either an all yes or an all no. I think there are some communities that, especially older communities, that retrofitting sidewalks into them are not appropriate. But until and unless you start having those conversations with the community, it's their money and it's their neighborhood. I don't know that this board can necessarily say sidewalks for all or sidewalks for none. I think we've got to look at each one, as painful as it may be. I'm also okay with delaying, if that's what the district commissioner would like to do, for a period of time to have more conversation. I'm going to rely on the county manager and her team to get us a criteria that we all can somewhat agree to, so that we know that every time that these sidewalk projects are making their way through the process, that we know that that's the criteria that you're looking at when you prioritize them. And I guess maybe I'm missing all of these emails where that has been given to us, but I haven't seen it, so I'd love it.
Thank you. Commissioner, if I can just say one thing before I recognize you. I think the frustration here is there's a disconnect between what we think should be and what is happening. What we think should be is we're giving sidewalks to neighborhoods. And usually, I'm getting phone calls, people wanting sidewalks in their neighborhoods. But it seems that every time a sidewalk project comes up, they don't want sidewalks in their neighborhood. And it's just, that's the frustration. I agree. I mean, I think the staff has put in a lot of work as far as detailing what, which sidewalks should be, which sidewalks should be in the penny, which sidewalks should be the safety. But the frustration seems to be why, and then I see Mr. Epps out there who calls me every other week asking me for sidewalks in his neighborhood. So, and I had to tell him he's down the list. And he wants to be up the list. He says, I'll take Lake Hayes, I'll take English Estates, and I'm sure you all are getting the same things in your neighborhood. So that's, I think, the frustration that we're all feeling. And that's something that the staff obviously can't control, and it's something, unfortunately, that we can't control. They're doing it based, I believe, on what they think are safety and or the criteria of connecting. And so the one thing we can ask them to do is, if it is safety, let's make sure we've talked to the neighbors and the neighbors have a conduit that they can continue to work with them to fix whatever concerns they have. I'm sorry. Commissioner Zimbauer, please go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can the staff answer, has there been complaints, or is there any schools that don't have sidewalks around them that we're not aware of?
I'm sure I can't give you definite answer, but really, if there are, I'm sure there. If you're trying to say within 2 miles, because kids that can walk within 2 miles. If you're trying to say, okay, you want to apply the 2 miles, because that report Commissioner Lockhart talking about within 1 mile. Now, it is the policy, can correct me if I'm, is it within 2 miles, you walk to school. If we're going to apply that, there are some schools don't meet that 2 mile or maybe less. So it is a really, I don't have that answer, but can we get it? Absolutely we can.
Sure. Well, the reason I ask that is I wonder if we're getting a high complaint rate from citizens that they don't have enough walkable area around the schools. But I got to tell you, I think there's more kids being delivered by cars and picked up by cars than there are sidewalks, because in certain areas, I see no parking signs on the right-of-way, and people are parking on the sidewalk waiting to drop their children off and pick them up. Maybe the school board needs to put another lap around the school for more car access rather than sidewalks. But that's a whole different story. But to Commissioner Lockhart's point, I believe we should listen to the public on these matters. We should have an open ear. But also, I would urge my fellow commissioners to understand, we were sent here to lead. We were sent here to make hard decisions. Those are not always popular decisions. If they're not popular enough, well, the voters will take care of that when it's time for us to come up for election. I have no interest in continuing to beat this issue, but it just seems to me we're going to have to come to some resolution. I agree with Commissioner Herr. There is policy there. We've looked at the 2040 transportation plan. But if we continue to have this kind of dialogue, giving mixed signals to this staff, we're never going to get out of this conversation. We've got, I mean, whatever that is, and I'm happy to have that conversation to a work session. If we want to throw it all up in the air, move it all around, change it up, decide what we want to do, let's just do it and be done and give it to staff and go, here, do this. If there's some extenuating circumstance, okay, we can address that. But this is just on and on and on.
That's why we hired a
So
program manager.
I would just like to move on through it.
Commissioner Delory.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Coming to this meeting, I had every intentions of approving this, but then when I asked a question to staff regarding the elementary schools, and they really couldn't answer it, that's for me when the red flag went up. And I have no problem moving forward with this project, but I'm more concerned about the elementary schools to making sure that they have enough funding, not the schools, but we have enough funding for the sidewalks to get those kids to school. And then in the conversation with staff, they're also relying on the renewal of the 1-cent sales tax. We haven't even decided that yet, and that's for the public. I can tell you, renewing a penny sales tax is going to be a big effort. It is not an easy effort, but I want to make sure that the elementary schools getting to and from a child that has to walk is addressed, and staff couldn't answer that today, and that's my concern.
Commissioner?
Sure.
Could I ask you to expand the school discussion beyond elementary schools? Because,
It could be middle school.
well, I think there are many middle school students who walk as well as high school
I'm just
students.
picking on elementary schools. It could be middle schools as well.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
Okay, I
if we
think
could
that
expand it.
I think there's been a discussion that needs to be researched a little bit more by Commissioner Delory, and I think everybody has no problem with that being done. So, Ms. Dredge, you understand that, correct? That is something that needs to be done, and the county and the county manager understands that also. All right, now let's get back to the specific.
Could I ask for
Yes,
some
please.
clarification? I'm sorry, I know we've been at this for almost an hour, and I don't want to belabor it, but I do need some clarification, because back to this specific project, this is an enumerated project on the sales tax list. And we've expended $65,000 on design already because it's on the list. And whatever the board wants to do with this, we certainly respect that. But I would like to understand, there are some projects remaining on the list, sidewalk projects, that are on the 2014 sales tax list. And we assumed, and maybe incorrectly on the staff's part, that those were the priority projects. They were enumerated, they were included in the resolution establishing the sales tax, that those were priority projects because they were specifically named in that resolution. My question to you is, should we stop making that assumption and hold off on moving forward with the remaining projects? It doesn't sound like there's a whole lot left from a sidewalk standpoint. So should we wait and not do anything else on the other enumerated sidewalk projects on that list?
County Manager, I was going to make a suggestion when you asked to be recognized, in that I'm going to ask the district commissioner about this specific one right now, but if any of the commissioners looking at their own district and looking at the sidewalks on the list have any problem at all, I think it's time for them to tell the staff that right now. Not today, but, in the very near future, so that you can continue to move forward.
Well, that's...
Going to need the list.
So
Go ahead, Commissioner Herr.
the issue doesn't typically come up, just my observation, from one of us. The issue comes up when the community says, whoa, 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 whoa. And so the question that I have is, have all of those projects been socialized within the neighborhoods? Do we have the feedback? Probably not.
Probably not. And so my question.
So the speak now or forever hold your peace thing is not going to work. I just want to point that out because the citizens haven't been engaged.
So to that point, I want to understand, is there a different approach? Because we have a list of projects that we were directed to complete. So we're trying to move that list forward. And I'm not trying to be difficult. I just really want to understand what the board's
Mr. Chairman?
expectation is. If you want us to run those by you before we start, because like I said, we've already expended design dollars on this. We're happy to do that. I just want to, I want to be responsive to what your concerns are, and I want to understand how it is you want us to manage the project list for the sales tax.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Delory, and I think Mr. Dredge, you wanted to say something too, so I'm going to go to Commissioner Delory, and then, okay.
So my issue here is, with the cost of construction going up exponentially, and we can see that in this project alone, I want to make sure that from a school's perspective on sidewalks, either elementary or middle, that the child can get to and from the schools. If that's taken care of, I have no problem moving forward with this. But I need to know that we're addressing that. If a child is going to be required to walk to school, are we providing a safe path to the schools? It's a simple question.
Mr. Dredge.
Okay, my question will be, when we look at that data and give you that data, what links do you want us to look at? You want us to look at with a 1 mile? You want us to look at the school with a 2 mile, with half mile? Okay, if we staff come back and say, okay, here's the elementary school and here what we have, what links you want us to look at?
Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Zimbauer.
I have to believe that there are some kind of study of best practice in and around educational institutions, whether it be middle school, high school, elementary school. I've got to believe there's some kind of engineering criteria or study. Maybe we start there. But again, I just got to say, I have to believe if we didn't have enough sidewalks for our children to get back and forth to school, our phones would be burning up. I have not had a single call to my office since I've been elected from a parent saying, hey, there's no sidewalks for my kid to walk to school. Now, I've had plenty of calls from people saying, I'd like to have sidewalks for my children to get them off the road. I've had calls that I don't like a sidewalk over there. So I understand, I appreciate Commissioner Delory's, but I'm trying to move this board forward. So I go back to Commissioner Herr's point. Is this dollar amount somehow going to impact our ability to do school sidewalks if they're needed, number one? Find the money to do them if we don't do this or do this. If that's a non-issue, then maybe we ought to consider moving on. If it's a financial issue that we don't have money to put sidewalks in around schools, then maybe this one's better to come off the project or put it on hold for 30 days.
Mr. Chairman, if we could just continue this for 30 days and have staff report back to us. It's a simple question. It's not a hard lift, I don't think.
This is the district commissioner's request. It was a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second discussion. Go ahead, Commissioner Hurd.
I don't want to lose sight of John's question.
Correct.
John's question was really pointed, and I do appreciate that there's probably best practices, but that doesn't actually mean that we're going to listen to the best practices. So what number do we want him to look at? Half a mile, or 2 miles is what you...
I would refer to the school busing process,
So 2 miles.
whatever the school busing process is.
School, you walk if it's less than 2 miles. Do you concur with that? I'm hearing 2 miles, John. I'm just trying to get you some answers.
I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Under discussion, further discussion, just real quickly. The fact of the matter is at one point, we did say any of these sidewalks on the list, I do recall this, any of the sidewalks on the list, we want to reach out to the neighborhoods and start talking to them as soon as possible
Yeah.
so that we will know any of these concerns. Now, Mr. Hyde is Mr. Hyde, and he's always, with all due respect, I mean, I have known about this concern for a while, and all of you have known about this concern for a while that he has had. So whichever, we are now the motion is 30 days delay, or the next meeting in the late of the month of June.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, the county manager was trying to get your attention.
And I'm going to get...
Okay, before you vote, I'd like to ask a question.
I'm going to get to you, I am. But I just want to make sure that any concerns that Mr. Hyde has, he gets, and I'm sure he has before, but specifically gets with the staff, with your staff, Mr. Dredge, see what we can, if there's anything we can do to alleviate some of his concerns. County manager.
I just want to make sure I understand what the board is expecting in the next 30 days. What do you want us to give you between now and then in order to help you with your decision-making on this?
Commissioner Delory.
I would like to have a cursory review, okay? Are there adequate sidewalks for kids that are required to walk for the middle and elementary schools? If that's okay, I have no problem moving forward, but that couldn't be answered here today.
I'm not sure we can do that in 30 days, because John said he
Okay,
thought
so
it
how
was
much time do you think is
a
needed?
longer period.
Is it 60 days?
We can give overall, but I can't, it'll take more than 60 days, or we said 6 months, if you look in all those schools.
But John, I think that and county manager, I think if we ask the school board, we might be able to get you asked for just a overview.
It's an overall.
I think if we ask the school board, we might be able to get that answer from them a little bit faster than 60 days.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll amend my motion that there's no time limit on it to allow
Or 6 months.
the staff flexibility. I have no problem with that, but I think if you ask the school board, they'll know where the problems lie.
And Mr. Dredge,
If there are problems.
how long does this contract last? I do not want us to postpone this, that it's going to come back and we're going to have to rebid.
It is normally between 60 to 90 days, and that is a proposal. It has been, we had that at least 60 days, I would say, because last time we brought it up, and here to get funding, you asked us to go back and talk to the community, and we already had that bid at the time.
All right, so it could, Commissioner, I'm sorry, Commissioner Zabel.
Again, I want to support my friend Commissioner Delory, whatever he desires for his district, to an extent.
I get that.
The money we're talking about here is a rounding error in a mid-year transfer. Again, I want my fellow commissioners to consider, is this, if we do move forward, whether it's today or 30 days or whatever that number is, and I understand all the information some of us want and reaching out to the school board and all this, I got all that. But is this somehow going to impact our ability to somehow not put a sidewalk within 2 miles of a school if that's ultimately determined and we jeopardize the contract? I mean, again,
Probably
I'm
not.
sensitive to every penny of taxpayers' dollars, but in the grand scheme of things, we're not talking a lot of money here.
Probably
I asked
not.
that question, and the answer was no. Correct?
Right.
That was asked and answered.
So we're asked for 30 days, that's the motion. Is there any objection to giving the county 30 days? And in that 30 days, there have been a request, Commissioner?
I just want to make sure I understand.
Okay.
Because we talked about two different things. We talked about a full-fledged inventory of sidewalks 2 miles from schools, all schools.
We're asking for a
And then
report.
and then there was a suggestion that we contact the school board and ask them where the problems are, and those are two different things. And that, we can probably get a quick answer on where
Mr.
the
Chairman, I
problems
asked for a
are.
cursory review, not an
Okay.
in-depth study.
Okay. All right. I want to make sure that we bring you what you're asking for. I'm not, again, I'm not
understand
trying
that.
to be difficult. I just really
And I'm
want
not trying to be difficult either. Like I said,
I
I have no
understand.
problem moving forward. I just want to make sure that we're addressing the needs of the children that's going to the elementary and middle
All right.
schools.
So We're going to postpone that, we're going to make a motion, but the motion is, we're going to vote on the motion, but the motion is to postpone this for 30 days, and in that time, we're going to get back a report from the staff as best they can in 30 days about, the 2 miles, and they're going to contact the school boards to ask them about 2 miles for the school safety and everything, and this will be back up. When I say 30 days, I mean the next meeting, the later meeting in June. Right? Okay, everybody understand? All right, that's the motion. Discussion has been completed. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, opposed, passes. And Mr. Hyde, please try to get with them before this comes back again. I know you have, but try some more, okay? Work with them. All right, now we're under 22, and first Commissioner Herr asked for that to be, but I think also Commissioner Delory. So Commissioner Herr.
Yes, I ask that this item be pulled so I can abstain from voting. One of the subcontractors is a client of my employer, Highland, and I have the Form 8B filled out and will be submitted electronically.
Thank you very much for that. Commissioner Delory?
Mr. Chairman, I fully support this item. I do want to commend staff for their due diligence and their homework in doing this project. I think in their recommendations, I think they've done a phenomenal job. I've also seen the video that was submitted, and if you haven't seen the video, please see it. Mr. Chairman, I think I would love to get a copy over to Commissioner Henley so he can actually see the video. I think that would be appropriate. Since you were one of his high school students, as well as the chairman, I think it would be appropriate for you to do that. But more importantly, Mr. Chairman, I also see that on page 223 of the packet, under Phase 1, there's a note that says the consulting firm/team selected shall also coordinate with the design of the traffic calming improvements for the road adjacent to the project that may affect the design and location of the trail. I'd like to see that expanded to include the road as well as drainage and lighting, because the road in total need to be coordinated, not just the traffic calming devices for the trail. And that'd be my recommendation.
Commissioner Zimbauer?
Chairman, I make a motion we move along item number 22 for approval.
Motion, and is there a second?
I'll second it. I'd like to ask the motion to address the item that I just brought up. Would that be approved?
Happy to adopt a
Okay,
friendly
so that will be a friendly amendment to the motion. Okay,
Correct.
so it's going to be included in the main motion. Let's first vote on the amendment which you made, seconded by Commissioner Zimbauer. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is now added to the main motion. All in favor of the main motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And thank you very much. It does seem to be all, Remembrance Day for me. And now they've got another high school, my principal, and I would be happy to give that to Commissioner Henley. If we can make that available, I'd appreciate it. He's, he would probably like it in some sort of video situation, I think would be the easiest way. He's not exactly wants to get it off his telephone or something. Commissioner Herr.
I'm just going to, for the record, go abstain.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. It was 4-0 with an abstention. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to approve item number 24 of the Clerk of the Court's agenda item.
Second.
There's a motion second. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak on item 24 before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. We are now on the staff will present number 25, and the staff will present a request to consider waiving code enforcement lien, item number 25.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Pat Hughes, Planning and Development. Item 25 is a request from Stanley Thompson, the owner, for a further waiver or reduction under the lien amnesty program of a code enforcement lien on a vacant property located at 3760 Jessup Avenue, Sanford. The lien totals $2,300. In response to a complaint on May 9th, 2003, the code enforcement officer observed the following violations located at Jessup Avenue in Sanford: trash and debris, uncultivated vegetation, and junk vehicles not kept within an enclosed garage or carport. On May 20th, 2004, the Code Enforcement Board issued an order giving the respondent, William Ferguson, a compliance date of June 21st, 2004, to correct the trash and debris and uncultivated vegetation, and July 21st, 2004 to remove the junk vehicles. An affidavit of non-compliance was filed by the code officer for the trash and debris and the uncultivated vegetation after reinspection on June 22nd, 2004. An affidavit of compliance was filed by the code enforcement officer for the trash and debris and uncultivated vegetation after reinspection on July 16th, 2004. An affidavit of compliance was filed by the code enforcement officer for the junk vehicles not kept within an enclosed garage or carport after reinspection on July 23rd, 2004. On August 26, 2004, the Code Enforcement Board entered an order finding compliance and imposing a fine lien in the amount of $2,300. The applicant, Stanley Thompson, took ownership of the property through the probate process on October 12, 2015. The respondent meets the requirements for the lien amnesty program, and due to the proven financial hardship, staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners reduce the Code Enforcement Board lien totaling $2,300 for case 0431 CEB on the property located at 3760 Jessup Avenue, Sanford, owned by Stanley Thompson, to the administrative cost under the lien amnesty program of $250. Require this reduced amount to be paid within 30 days, or the lien will revert back to the original amount of $2,300, and authorize the chairman to execute the release of lien upon payment in full. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Is there any questions of the staff? And I'm going to ask, is the applicant here?
I'm going to assume no, he lives out of state.
Okay. I don't see any hands raised, okay. Is there any questions? This is in your district, Commissioner Zimbauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will make a motion to approve staff's recommendation to provide the waiver for administration fees to be collected on item 25. The real issue here is compliance, and we've gotten compliance. I have no interest in taking somebody's money, somebody's property. It's cleaned up. I've been by the property. It still remains cleaned up. We're no longer getting complaints, at least in my office. So I see no benefit at this juncture in financially punishing this individual other than the cost of our...
Mr. Chairman, we have a second.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Zimbauer has made the motion, and Commissioner Delory has seconded it. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And Ms. Hughes, I believe you're up again on item number 26, Special Magistrate lien.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Again, for the record, Pat Hughes, Planning and Development. Item 26 is a request from Michael Buffelli, applicant, for a partial release of lien for a vacant property located on Lincoln Street in Sanford that was attached due to a code enforcement special magistrate lien that as of today totals $83,600 for case 15-08-CESM. This property and another property located at 3210 Lincoln Street in Sanford were previously owned by Antoine Gillison, and the property at 3210 Lincoln Street was the violation property. The violation was construction without the required permits. On February 18, 2016, the special magistrate entered an order imposing a fine and lien in the amount of $1,750, with the fine continuing to accrue at $50 per day on the property located at 3210 Lincoln Street. Therefore, this lien attached to the vacant property, now owned by Buffelli Construction, and Michael Buffelli is the applicant. On April 25, 2019, a tax deed was issued to ACAM Investments, LLC, for the vacant property located on Lincoln Street. On June 25, 2020, a special warranty deed was issued after Buffelli Construction, LLC, purchased the property from ACAM Investments, LLC. On December 29, 2016, the property located at 3210 Lincoln Street was sold to Janae Davis. And on September 22, 2017, Janae Davis sold the property to Antonio Chandler, who is the current owner of the property at 3210 Lincoln Street. The property located at 3210 Lincoln Street is not in compliance. Staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners approve a partial release of lien for the vacant property located on Lincoln Street parcel 33, 19, 31, 300, 0730-0000, that was attached due to the code enforcement special magistrate lien of $83,600 as of today for case 15-08-CESM, located at 3210 Lincoln Street, Sanford. And that parcel number is 33, 19, 31, 300, 0700-0000. Michael Buffelli, applicant, and authorize the chairman to execute the partial release of lien. That concludes my presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of Ms. Hughes?
They're not.
Is the applicant here? Would you care to say anything? Or I see he has his attorney here, so I'm assuming you're his attorney.
Or at least he's a attorney.
A attorney, but he jumped up very quickly.
Good morning. Steve Coover, I'm here on behalf of Mr. Buffelli. He and his son own Buffelli Construction. They bought 2 lots in Midway. They have full-time jobs, but their construction business allows them to have a second income. They got caught on this one. The title company missed it. They got a construction loan lined up, and the bank's lawyer found it. And so he's kind of stuck with an $80,000 lien on 2 properties that are in compliance that he's going to do affordable housing in Midway. We thought this would be a good time to ask the commission to waive the lien so he can go ahead and close on his loan and build 2 houses in Midway. So that's what we're here for. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'd like to thank staff. They were very helpful.
Are there any questions of Mr. Cooper?
I do have one.
Yes. Mr. Zimbo.
So your client's committing to build affordable houses on these 2 parcels? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what he's planning to do, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Further questions? I have, Commissioner Hurd.
Not a question. I was going to move the...
If you don't mind, I have a question, Ms. Hughes, please. What exactly, how much, get in there, please. I'm sorry. That's all right. Ms. Hughes, what exactly, you're saying a partial waiver, or what exactly are you asking the commission to waive? How much?
To waive the release of lien that's attached to Mr. Buffelli's property. Whenever, per Florida state statutes, when we place a lien on a property, it affects any other property owned by that person. So therefore, that property got attached to through the liened property.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. I just wanted to be very clear about that. Commissioner
And that
Hurd?
property has since changed hands, and therefore, I move to approve the release of the lien for the property located on Lincoln Street, parcel number 3319313007300000, that was attached due to the code enforcement special magistrate lien of 81-8 for case number 15-08 CESM, located at 3210 Lincoln Street.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Hughes. We now have the county manager and staff briefings. I believe that first we have Ms. Guillet. Do you want to have anything, or do you want to go right to Scott McIntyre?
I don't have anything. We can go right to the investment report.
Okay. So we're going to go into Mr. McIntyre and Tim. Where are you? Yeah, there is Tim. Okay. Is he on the line? Yeah. Good morning, Scott. Scott?
Okay, can you guys hear me? I'm unmuted now.
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Good, good, okay. I know you guys had a longer debate than you intended, so I will keep this short. I put together a longer presentation than I should have, so I'm going to skip through some of this, but the main events that are driving the market you guys have already alluded to right now, and that's the fact that the economy is growing much more strongly than people anticipated it would, and it's actually seeming to create some inflation. So pretty significant inflation. In fact, core CPI consumer prices were up in April, the most they had been in any single month in 40 years. And the core rate year over year is at a 25-year high. So the Fed is watching that carefully. We're all feeling that in terms of prices. Going to the next slide, the only thing I want to mention here on employment is that you guys intuitively know this as well. The jobs are coming back before the people are. It's a very unusual occurrence. The Small Business Survey for April indicated the highest level of reported job openings in the 45-year history of the survey, which is a monthly survey. The job openings and labor turnover survey showed a record 8.1 million job openings in the month of March. And right now, the biggest complaint, regardless of the survey you're looking at, shows that employers are having trouble filling positions, finding and retaining workers. The next slide, I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail. You guys have also probably read about this, but there are people who believe that the enhanced federal benefits are proven to be a disincentive for people going back to work. So at this point, whether it's right or wrong, and I'm not going to make a political judgment there, but 20 states have moved to strike the federal incentive to get people back into the jobs that they need the people to be back into the jobs for. The next slide, consumer spending, which is slide number 4. The thing that I want to indicate here is that the total retail sales is now almost 18% above the pre-pandemic level. So the spending is there, the demand is there, and it is creating inflation. So the next slide, the only thing I want to point out in inflation that I haven't already pointed out is looking at the blue line there and the red line, the blue bar and the red line. You can see how quickly prices spiked during the month of April. That is a year-over-year change, so that makes a lot of sense. But the core rate is what people didn't expect to see spiking. Anecdotally, a lot of concerns here. You guys have alluded to the price of concrete. I will tell you lumber prices are up at last count 350% over last year. That was also alluded to in the 2x4s. And I was in Home Depot the other day, and I will tell you if you're buying plywood, you're going to pay 4 times as much as you did. And there are really no exceptions to this. Used car prices are up an amazing 10%. Year-over-year, month-over-month, airline prices are up 10%. My guess is it's going to be more as we roll into the next couple months. Hotels and motels were up 9%. Rental cars, which I had talked about a couple months ago, are up 16% month-over-month. This just keeps on going. Now, the Fed has insisted these are going to be transitory, that these are going to be temporary increases. The experts are raising their eyebrows and wondering how the Fed is going to explain this at the June meeting. So the June meeting, which is about a month away now, is going to be very critical. It's going to be interesting to see if the Fed can dance around these and insist and calm the markets that, again, these price increases are going to eventually evaporate. I personally don't believe they will. I believe to a large degree they're going to be entrenched for a much longer period of time than the Fed thinks. The next slide, I won't talk about it too much, but housing, you guys know that. Home sales were the highest last year in 14 years. The one thing I do want to mention here is that there was a survey by the Home Builders Institute, which is, well, they don't make headlines normally. They released the first of what they believe will be a semi-annual survey that showed that there were 300,000 construction workers short. These are U.S. builders that don't have the workers to do the work. So when you see things like housing starts being below where people expected they were going to be and inventories being as low as they are, part of it has to do with the builders not being able to find workers. Part of it has to do with the fact that, the average home price, new home price, is increased by $36,000 as a result of the year-over-year 350% increase in lumber costs. So this puts us in an opposition. The economy is growing. The next slide is GDP growth. We fully recovered at this point from the pandemic, and most indications. Obviously jobs are lacking, but that's a really noisy number, as I've alluded to. But the economy is back on track. At the same time, we still have a zero interest rate environment. The next thing I want to mention, which is really important in terms of the county, is that bank lending capacity, the loans to deposit ratios for banks across the nation has fallen to 61%. That's the lowest in 48 years of weekly data, according to Bloomberg. So deposits are rising with banks very, very sharply. They've more than doubled since the beginning of 2020, but the loans aren't being made. So the loan-to-deposit ratio is very, very thin right now. Banks have the capacity, but they don't have the demand. Taking us to the current investment choices, because there is a lot of cash. 6-month Treasury notes are trading at 1, 12-month at 5. That's actually down today to 4. No advantage over agencies. Flipping over to looking at what the banks are offering. The banks, which a large portion of the county's monies are held with Florida banks, and those are secured through the Qualified Public Depository Program, and we also look at the credits of the banks, and the credits are strong. All of them seem to have plenty of cash. Their capital ratios are very solid, well above what the industry is requiring them to be. So these banks, obviously the best choice seems to be the banks right now with their secured deposits. They will only take so much. One of the banks that the county does business with or has deposits with had very recently lowered the rate. They said either pull some money out or we're going to lower the rate more than we're saying they're going to, and we chose to allow them to lower it more because there really wasn't any place to go that would pay more than 15 basis points. The pool rates, the most money that the county has in the pool is in Florida Prime, which is managed by Federated. That's right now around 11 basis points. That's fully liquid money, but we did shuffle some money out of some of the lower rated and lower paying Florida pools. And I'm going to skip the Bloomberg yield forecast. You can look at that when you choose. And I'll get to notes and recommendations here. So there are no maturities in May, or there were no maturities in May, which is good. But there are several coming up in June. We're going to lose a $10 million Treasury note, was paying 164. Obviously, we're not going to be able to replace that yield. There's a Palm term investment that was only paying 18 that goes away. That's a little bit easier to stomach. And a short Treasury bill we bought a couple months ago that was at 6 basis points that will mature. So quite a few maturities. We've tried to get ahead of those. You guys have some COVID money coming in, timing a little bit uncertain, but could be any time. We tried to get ahead of that. So we reallocated $11 million from Florida Safe Pool to Florida Prime Pool to go from paying 4 basis points to 11. We purchased $11 million of a Palm term rate, a special date that they had that put a 13 on, and again helped to diversify. Bank United offered a CD rate out 1 year and 270 days at 15. So when treasuries are at 4 out a year, when you come inside of a year and get 15, that seems like the best bet. Bank United is a highly rated, solid, secure bank, so we feel very good about that. In terms of recommended purchases, they come and they go by the hour. Banks have capacity and then they don't have capacity. So what we're going to continue to do is evaluate the bank's capacity to take additional deposits. We're going to evaluate the pool holdings and determine the best rate risk return for the pools and make sure that we've reallocated as appropriate. And then we're going to watch for opportunities that came along, just like that Palm term rate that came at the 13. Try to keep things as balanced as we can. Keep it in mind that there's inflation in the pipeline. It's starting to raise some red flags. People are talking about it. Fed officials are discussing it. The Fed has a meeting in 3 weeks. They will talk about it then. We could see some drift up. We could see the Fed start to talk about moving earlier than they are. So we need to be ready for that. We're not missing anything in the near term because there isn't a whole lot available right now. And then what I need to ask for is a motion to adopt the recommendations our recommendations, based on the report submitted today, to ratify all investment actions taken since the last board meeting, which are listed above the recent investment transactions, and we recommend that the clerk implement said board recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Okay. Questions of Mr. McIntyre? Mr. McIntyre, thank you very much. We have a motion and second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you again, Mr. McIntyre. And
Okay, well, thank you all.
interesting stuff happening, isn't it? Be well. Okay. Next is the county attorney briefing.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Desmond Morrell on behalf of the County Attorney's Office. Today, we'd just like to take a moment to introduce our summer intern, Mr. Jodison Woody, who is here from FSU Law. Jodison, if you want to stand up. We're very pleased to have, Jodison. He'll be finishing up next summer with his JD and also a Master's in Public Administration with a concentration, I'm looking for Alan, with a concentration in Emergency Management and Homeland Security. So we're hoping Mr. Woody stays on with us and comes on in the future to assist, but we're happy to have him.
Great. Wonderful. Welcome.
Welcome, and for those of you that are FSU fans, congratulations on your new president.
Yes, thank you. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, well, he's from Harvard, we'll see.
That's why I said we'll see how that goes.
How he loves Tallahassee. Okay, County Manager, is there anything else
No, sir.
for this morning? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to recess unless there's something. Does anybody have anything before I recess this meeting until 1:30?
Mr. Chairman, I would like just a point. Any idea when we're going to get back to the business spotlight stuff that we were doing pre-COVID? I know that we're probably got our hands full. Just like give us some kind of idea.
Tricia's shaking her head.
I can't give you an idea right now. Our communications team is pretty
Understood.
swamped still.
No, I understand.
Well, as soon as we can, we will.
I'd just like to see us get our business community re-energized and back in here and
Great.
get going. Thank
Glad
you.
you missed them.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Anything else before we recess? Seeing none, we are recessed until 1:30, and we'll see you then.